start.
I've played over 120 hours of Super Mario Party Jamboree since I reviewed it on Nintendo Switch last October. I loved it from the jump, scoring it a 9 in my original review, and it's continued to be a top choice on game nights with family and friends. So I was thrilled when Nintendo revealed that this would be one of the first Switch 1 games to get a Switch 2 expansion, thinking an upgraded version with great mouse control minigames and interesting new ways to party would be a total slam dunk. Unfortunately, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV is just as sloppy as its overly wordy title, with a handful of problems stemming from the frustrating decision to completely separate its new and old content. The fantastic base game is still hidden underneath a pile of annoying choices, but it's tough to recommend the Switch 2 Edition as the clear, definitive version of the best Mario Party there's ever been.
Congratulations!
Before I get into the major differences between Jamboree on Switch 1 and Switch 2, I highly recommend you check out my original review from last year if you're looking for in-depth thoughts on the base game, because it all still holds true. Super Mario Party Jamboree itself is still an amazing time, with fantastic boards and items that emphasize strategy more than ever before, a great selection of minigames that features returning classics and new favorites, and a gorgeous presentation and attention to detail that elevate the whole package. I've been playing Mario Party pretty much my entire life, and now that I've had it for almost a year, I can definitively say that Jamboree is my favorite entry in the series. If you don't own it at all, I can't recommend the Switch 1 version enough.
You got stars!
However, with all that said, that doesn't mean the Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV is worth the upgrade. This new version is essentially an entirely unaltered port of the Switch 1 game with its Jamboree TV expansion glued on. When you first boot it up, the menu will look familiar to anyone who's played Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. You select between Super Mario Party Jamboree, complete with a Switch 1 icon in the top left, indicating this is just the old game and nothing more, not even a resolution bump, and Jamboree TV, which displays a Switch 2 icon and actually makes use of the new tech. The difference between this and 3D World's expanded version, however, is that 3D World and Bowser's Fury are wholly unique games that make sense to separate, while these two share a majority of their content but differ in strange, limiting ways. Jamboree TV is where all of the new minigames and modes that take advantage of the Switch 2's hardware live. The clear highlight is the set of 14 new minigames that use the Joy-Con 2's mouse controls. Switch 2's mouse controls may not be comfortable for extended periods of time, but they work super well in the context of a 45-second Mario Party minigame, and I was surprised by how much I loved the entire lineup. Highlights include Stuffy Stacker, where you work with a partner to build the tallest tower possible out of blocks and Yoshi plushies, and the Chaotic Goomba Scoopas, where you drive a snowplow to frantically shove piles of Goombas into your team's gate. Playing with mouse controls means everyone has to use a single Switch 2 Joy-Con instead of a pair or a Pro Controller, but with the improved larger design over the original Joy-Con, it feels like less of a concession and more of a legitimate option this time. Every mouse minigame is 2v2, which adds a ton of variety to the lineup of team games that appear in Mario Party mode.
Finish!
Speaking of which, Jamboree TV adds 2 great rule sets to try out alongside the original that put fun spins on the classic dice rolling action. The first is Tag Team Rules, which pits 2 teams of 2 against each other. Every player still takes their own turn, but each pair shares the same pool of stars, coins, and items, so you need to work together on every decision to come out on top. It's a fun way to shake up the traditional format and builds even further upon the strategic foundation of the base game. I also love the new Frenzy rules, a fast-paced way to fit a whole game of Mario Party in without it taking upwards of 90 minutes. Frenzy games only last 5 turns, or roughly 30 minutes, and each player starts out with 50 coins, a double dice, and even a star. Every roll and minigame feels crucial when you only have 5 turns to set yourself apart from the pack, and this is an exciting mode I never knew I wanted. Unfortunately, it's a shame Jamboree TV doesn't add any new boards to the mix, instead focusing on side modes that are pretty forgettable. Carnival Coaster is a cooperative mode where you use mouse controls in an on-rail shooter, completing team minigames as you go to add more time to the clock. I play Mario Party to compete, not cooperate, and it starts to feel repetitive after just a couple of runs.
Finish!
Meanwhile, Bowser Live uses the Switch 2's built-in microphone and optional camera in an attempt to put you into the game. You enter Bowser's lair and pop out of a warp pipe, and if you have a camera plugged in, see a live image of yourself. You then compete in completely controller-free minigames where you stack Goombas on your head or just literally scream into the microphone as loud as you can to score points. We've known since the days of WarioWare Snapped that minigames control better with an actual controller than with a camera or microphone, and Bowser Live doesn't do anything to change that truth. A microphone minigame where you clap to the beat, for example, is so much less precise than the Donkey Konga minigame where you do the same thing but with actual buttons. As a result, the appeal wears off after just a couple of minutes, and at my most cynical, it feels like a tacked-on mode designed to sell Switch 2 cameras and nothing more.
Finish!
Jamboree TV in general makes use of Switch 2's ability to use a camera, as live feeds of you and your friends' faces are visible throughout the party, although you don't need a camera to access these modes and can play everything but Bowser Live without missing out on any content. Yes, I tried this feature with some friends, but they didn't want to be in the video, so I had to awkwardly use the camera by myself. I guess it's a nice novelty, and kids might like seeing themselves or their parents inside the game, but it's not something I ever see myself using outside of testing it for this review. Even though some of the new content is worthwhile, things get really frustrating when you consider how Jamboree and Jamboree TV split up their content. As I mentioned, the Jamboree side of the fence is a straight port of the Switch 1 game, which means there's no mouse control minigames, camera functionality, or option to do the Frenzy and Tag Team rules. That wouldn't be a problem if the Jamboree TV side of things was an outright replacement and included everything Jamboree has to offer, but it's inexplicably missing a ton of content from the Switch 1 side. Jamboree TV completely lacks Pro Rules, which was one of Jamboree's best additions. It reduces luck and focuses on strategy, and I praised it in my original review. Here, it's only available on the Switch 1 side, and so are all of Jamboree's original side modes. That's Koopathlon, Bowser Kaboom Squad, Paratroopa Flight School, Toad's Item Factory, Rhythm Kitchen, the single-player campaign Party Planning Trek, and every mode in Minigame Bay besides Free Play.
Finish!
More importantly, Jamboree TV lacks all of Jamboree's achievements, customization, and unlockables. In the Switch 1 version, you have to earn party points to buy additional stickers and finish achievements to unlock 3 of the boards, but Jamboree TV just gives you everything right from the start, taking away the fun sense of progression and incentive to play single player that I really valued. It also means if you're buying this new on Switch 2, you'll have everything unlocked in Jamboree TV, but nothing unlocked in Jamboree, which is just odd. What's stranger is that these two sides don't talk to each other whatsoever. If you're playing Jamboree TV and do something that would normally earn you an achievement over in Jamboree, nothing happens, and the Switch 1 version doesn't recognize it at all when you return there.
A new record!
Another example is minigame records. My group and I love to chase high scores in minigames, whether in free play or during a Mario Party game itself, but Jamboree TV doesn't track records at all. Did you get a new crazy high score on the button mashing domination? Switch 1 Jamboree will congratulate you with the iconic new record sound effect and display that score until someone else beats it.
A new record!
While Switch 2's Jamboree TV won't track it anywhere.
Finish!
Even worse, the Switch 1 side didn't receive any performance or resolution updates to take advantage of the new hardware. Jamboree TV runs in 1440p docked, but Jamboree is 1080p docked and still a noticeable 720p handheld, which was the maximum resolution of the Switch 1 screen. Nintendo is charging $80 for the Switch 2 edition at launch, when more than half of it is quite literally an unchanged Switch 1 game. And while it's only $20 for the upgrade if you already own it, I'm still not sure that's worth the compromised way this expansion works. Do you want to play Pro Rules with the enhanced resolution? It's simply not possible. How about the mouse control minigames while still working toward achievements? You can't do that either. It also takes so long to swap between the two versions that you're better off just closing the software altogether and rebooting. The staff credits roll every time you leave TV, but at least they're skippable. One of my favorite things about Jamboree is how many choices it gives you to make your Mario Party experience exactly what you want it to be, but Jamboree plus Jamboree TV has entirely lost that graceful design just 9 months later, unless you only stick in the unaltered base game, which defeats the entire purpose of the upgrade. Super Mario Party Jamboree is the best entry in the series, but the new content of the Switch 2 edition plus Jamboree TV re-release adds frustrating limitations and strange design decisions to what was otherwise a polished, customizable experience. Its camera-focused content is pretty forgettable, but there are a few worthwhile additions, like the great mouse control minigames and interesting new rule sets. However, it's hard to enjoy them to the fullest due to how this content is divided across two separate versions that don't talk to each other at all. Core features like achievements, unlockables, minigame records, and even rule sets are locked behind the Switch 1 version, which shockingly got zero performance or resolution updates like the Jamboree TV portion did. If the new stuff had been seamlessly integrated with the old under one umbrella, this would be a slam dunk. But as it stands, if you already own Jamboree, I only recommend upgrading if you're really interested in the new content. And if you're looking to buy Jamboree for the first time, it's not like you'll be disappointed by what's here, but the things that Jamboree TV adds hardly feel worth the price when you could just pick up the cheaper Switch 1 version instead.
Executive Reviews Editor Tom Marks here with Logan Plant, our reviewer for what's the name of this game? Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV equals X squared. There's a lot to it. But we're here to talk about both that review and your taste in Mario Party a little bit more. Logan, if you don't know, just reviewed Donkey Kong Bonanza for us, gave it a 10, reviewed Mario Kart World before that, obviously reviewed the base version of Mario Party Jamboree. Let's dig into, I think, probably the question that's going to be most popular in the comments after this review, which is, you said game was good, and now game is game but more, so why game lower score? Just to put it simply, right? This is getting a lower score than what the base game got, even though it is essentially a base game plus DLC. So let's talk about what that decision means, how we approach reviews like this, because Nintendo likes doing this. They release these enhanced editions. They did it with Super Mario 3D World, which was another one that we gave a lower score than the base game, and people kind of were a little bit confused by that. So let's dig into it. How did you land on this score and why?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about base Jamboree was how much it streamlined a series that often has just a lot of roadblocks and things that get in your way. And Jamboree really understood the assignment and was really easy to jump into a game of Mario Party, customize it exactly how you want it. Do you want to vote for minigames? Do you want it to be random? Do you want motion? Yes or no? And this one, Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, kind of just completely lost that lesson from Jamboree. It just really kind of missed the mark for me after the high water mark of the series last year, and that was just really frustrating and disappointing.
Yeah, and you can go back and watch Logan's review of the base game, which holds up for the base game, right? This is, we talk a lot about like when we're approaching reviews like this, do we review just the new content? Do we review it as a new package for someone coming in fresh who just got a Switch 2, doesn't have a base Switch, never played Jamboree originally? And you need to find sort of where you're targeting in that. How did you approach this one?
Yeah, for this one, I think I kind of had to take both into account because of how Nintendo is selling it. This review has to serve both people who don't own base Jamboree and are looking at this new product that comes with base Jamboree and the expansion, and people that do have base Jamboree and can purchase the upgrade pack separately, which is essentially just DLC. It's kind of a new format for Nintendo in that way, so I think it was important in the review to strike both of those balances. If you don't have Jamboree and you're looking at this, I recommend base Jamboree. I don't think it's worth the higher cost for what this comes with. And if you do have base Jamboree, I'm not sure they make a convincing case that you need that upgrade pack either. So I really tried to serve both audiences with that, because this is going to be a pattern with Nintendo. We have Kirby coming up next month, which is doing kind of a similar thing with an expansion.
Yeah, it stands in contrast to, we did review updates for a bunch of Nintendo Switch 2 editions that came out at launch or close to launch, like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and those were being packaged in a similar way where if you owned the base game, you could buy the upgrade. And in that case, we did recommend, yeah, if you have the base game or if you never played these games, you should absolutely buy this more enhanced version.
Like, never have I seen a DLC that has so much of the base game in it like this. Like, it's so strange, and it was kind of a difficult review to wrap my head around for that reason of, well, what's new here? What's what? Because the Mario Party is largely the same, but just these little tiny tinkers and tweaks just make it different.
And obviously I do understand where people come from when they see something like this with a lower score and go, wait, but didn't you say this base game was amazing? You gave it a 9, right? And that is a little weird, right? Because, especially like you just said, the base game is still amazing, but go buy that.
Yeah, and I just think about it like if you had a meal and then there was a more expensive version of the meal with a side dish and that side dish wasn't very good, it's a worse meal overall, even though there's more of it, right? And that's kind of something I was thinking about with this.
Sure, totally. Let's talk a little bit also just kind of because we didn't get to do a chance to do one of these reviewer interviews for the base Jamboree game. So I want to talk a little bit about your taste in Mario Party specifically, kind of boiled down to a very simple question, which is what's more important to you, good maps or good mini games? Because I feel like not every Mario Party has both.
Yeah, they don't. And I would say the make or break is the maps, because we saw with things like Mario Party 9 and 10 where they threw all 4 players in a car and it just wasn't even Mario Party anymore. Some mini games in those games were still good, but they're looked at, by me included, as the worst games in the series because it's just not Mario Party anymore. So you need kind of that foundation of these maps to give the mini games stakes and make them worth playing. And I need this money so I can get to this star on this map that's well designed and has cool mechanics and layers of strategy. And Jamboree does that so well. It has 7 boards and each of them do something completely different, like the mall where there's a bunch of different shops to land on where you can buy super powerful items, or the lagoon that has the changing water level that rises and lowers and opens up branching paths. Like, it just nails it. And I think in my base review I said this is like a sequel to the legacy Mario Party games that's like it's from an alternate universe where Mario Party never lost its way like it did for the last decade or so. And I can't recommend it enough, and the boards are a big reason why.
And it sounds like, in contrast, Jamboree TV kind of does neither.
Yeah, Jamboree TV adds just these like side modes, like kind of base Jamboree had with the Kaboom Squad and the Koopathlon and the base game. Now it's this Bowser TV thing with the camera, and yeah, it's just like they're focusing on adding content that I don't think people really want from Mario Party. I think people love that base game and those mini games, and that's what people come back to. And there's no new board in Jamboree TV. That is like the easiest slam dunk DLC, and they just didn't do it. They didn't add an 8th board, which would have been huge and probably changed my outlook on this a lot.
Logan, thank you so much for chatting with us about this a little bit more. If anybody has questions about this process, why we landed this way, feel free to message us. We're on social medias. I'm at Tom R. Marks. Logan, what's your social?
Logan J. Plant.
Logan J. Plant.
Same format as you, yeah.
You can message the IGN accounts as well. We'd love to hear from you if you have other questions about this sort of thing, because, again, we like to be open about it. And if you want more from Logan, I highly recommend, again, you check out his original base Jamboree review to hear why the base version of this game is really, really great. And then also Donkey Kong Bonanza review, my Switch 2 base review, our Zelda update review updates, all of that good stuff. And for everything else, stick with IGN.